Oh, man, we shouldn't be showing this. It's just too good. It's literally a bite every cast. Okay, I am obviously only joking. We are going to show you what we're doing today, and it's actually this that you can see here in my hand. Might look quite ordinary at the moment because you've got a rod tip section here, but as I ship out, what you'll notice is I've got a rod tip section on my pole, because today we are fishing with the pole feeder. Now, this is, in my opinion, the best setup for a pole feeder, bar none. And hopefully when you see it in action today, you'll understand it. And a lot of you might not have seen this before, but you might be using it, because trust me, it is so good. I've actually shown it once on camera on my own channel. And then since then, I've not shown it because I just think it's so effective. But it's time to share it with everybody again. And if you are familiar with pole feeder fishing, the old style is like one of these. This is actually broken, this one, because I just don't use them anymore. But what you'd normally do is you'd connect a bit of elastic to the end of your pole, and this would be your bite indicator. So it'd be nice and soft, and you'd watch this for dipping under the water. You need to have a length of line that was longer than this. So once your elastic is fully stretched, you're then playing it on the line. That might even not make sense to you, because I think they're quite hard to use. I just couldn't get on with them. Trust me, do it like this, and hopefully you're gonna catch a lot more fish. So what I'm gonna do, I think, I'm gonna get fishing, and then we'll talk about how I set it up, and I'm sure I'll talk you through it like that. So what I've done is I've had a cheeky couple of flicks out there already, just to put some ground bait out there. And then we're just going to get straight into it. We're going to get straight into the fishing, hopefully show you how effective it is, talk to you about how I'm fishing it. And then obviously, like I said, hopefully once we've caught a few fish, what I can do is I can slow down the fishing a bit, talk you through how you get this set up, how you feed it, and everything like that. So what I will do, I've just hooked my side tray. So basically, I'll go through the rig and everything in a moment. I've got my feeder loaded with ground baits, a few worms and some casters. I've got a single fluorine out I'm starting on. Don't know what we're going to catch today. Probably going to be quite a roach heavy day, but maybe we can sort some skimmers out. And I'm fishing close to start with, so all I'm going to do is I can just swing it out. I can get one extra section, which I've got just behind me. You then get on top of the feeder and you put your bump bar or your pole on a bump bar and tighten up to it like so. Now you are basically, we've got a bite straight away. That's how effective it is. And basically what you're doing is you're feeder fishing on a pole, but that means you've got the effectiveness of fishing a feeder, but obviously you've got the accuracy of fishing a pole. That makes two of the best methods probably that you can fish on a river put into one, and that's why it's so good. So I'm going to do that again. A few worms, few casters. That maggot's still good because the bite was so quick. We're just going to swing out to the spot, get your section on, over the top, and your bump bar. Now, if it don't get a bite so quick, so you can see I've got two bite indications. I've got the quiver tip, which is bouncing away, and I've got the top of a waggler as well. Again, when we talk through the rig section, I'll be able to show you why. Oh, that one's just come off. Let me see if I can grab him before he goes back in the river. There we go. Straight back in there. And yeah, I thought what I'd do for this Match Masterclass is come out on the river, because the one that I fished recently, the live match, that got some really nice comments. So thank you for everyone who commented on that. But it seems that a lot of people are really enjoying the fact that it's not everything is on a commercial, because there's obviously lots of people out there who are river fishing, and like having that content was really well received. So I did want to get back out on the river, and obviously it was time to share this method. I mean, you can see how effective it is. I've had two flickings and I've had two fish. I've just got that tangle while I was doing that, so let me spin that round. But yeah, so let's go out again. Hopefully we'll be able to work out a way of catching some bigger fish. This is my first two casts, but I've gone with a really small feeder to start with, because I don't want to overfeed. I want to feel my way into the session. We're going to flick out another section on. You do need a bump bar with this, because like I said, you want it to be all in the same place. So you tighten up to it, and you've got your feeder like you would in a quiver tip. So if you get a bite, that rattles as it is there, and you can see the little float stop is also your second indicator. So there's two ways that you can tell if you've got a bite, but the main reason I have the float bristle is because it lets me see if the depth's changing. So if the tide was really big and it was coming up really fast, that would obviously go under quite quickly. So that's, for me, is a bit more of a tide gauge rather than the bite indicator. You don't need that float top down the line, but for me, you can just watch the quiver tip. But having two is always better than one. So flick out again. I mean, you see how accurate it is and how quick it is. Like if you were feeder fishing on a rod, yes, you can be accurate, you can fish in a clip and everything like that, but there's absolutely no way you can be as accurate as you are with this. That feeder is plopping in like so tight every single time. And like I said, you really are getting the accuracy of pole fishing, but the effectiveness, oh, we've got a bit of a floating raft here, but the effectiveness of feeder fishing, slightly bigger rod this time. It's actually the first time I've ever fished this particular venue, so I don't know what there is to catch, and I don't know if there is any bigger fish, but there's got to be a chance to where we are. We're just off the main river. We're actually in a little dike, but there's plenty of flow. So if you are going to fish this pole feeder, one thing I would say is you need a bit of flow. That makes a big difference. The same as any sort of feeder fishing, really. You know, you're looking for that, and obviously you want somewhere where you can catch reasonably close, because it is much easier to fish close. I'm just swinging to hand here with an extra section. If I don't catch anything bigger, I think there's got to be some skimmers somewhere. If I don't catch anything, I might go further out into the river, and then there's extra things that you need to do. You need, because obviously you can't swing and lay straight on top, so you need to put a cable tie on your pole to hold it out of the water while you're shipping the feeder out. But that might be something that I can show you in a little while. But I think what I'll do is, I think that's probably shown how effective it can be, because I've had a fish every cast, I think. Yeah, I have. I've had a fish every cast, and they've been pretty quick. So I'm going to fish away, see if I can work out if there's any bigger fish in here. Maybe we need to go a bit further. Perhaps we can change some baits and stuff like that. And then once we've worked that out, we'll talk to you in much more detail about how you set this rig up, have another little fish with it, and hopefully show you just how good it can be. This is just so good. It's literally a fish every single cast, and although we're only caught little fish at the moment, I will take that. It's starting to feel really like winter now. It's cold, but we've, like I said, we've caught, or we've not necessarily caught, but we've had a bite every single cast. Sometimes we've missed a few bites, but it is been really good. So I'm just going to take a little bit of time out now to talk to you about the rig, because like I said, it's very different, but trust me, once you've used this on a pole feeder venue or somewhere if without this quiver tip, this is the best way of doing it. I'm going to just go out there and say it is the best because I love it so much. So if you want to set it up, this is what you need to do. So the top section here is actually just half of a 9-foot feeder rod. I got a really cheap feeder rod. I left the butt section at home, and to be honest, I've tested quite a lot of top kits and they fit. But so this is actually on top of just my normal, you can see this is my normal kit, look, because my elastic is still in there. So this is a shallow kit for my matrix pole. Now with the shallow kits, I tend to find, I've tried it on a lot of different feeder rods, there's a lot of kits that will fit. So you might have to just play around with the kit and a top of a rod to see which one fits yours. But yeah, you can see how easy it is. Look, that just goes over the top and that fits. So have a different play with rod tops and pole sections, find one that fits, and then you don't need to do anything extra. I didn't need to buy a rod, I didn't need to buy anything to set this up. But what I have done, as you can see, I've elasticated. So this has basically become my top kit. So because I can have the quiver tip bite indication. So I found a bead that's big enough to not go through the last eye. I've just tied on some number 8 elastic, and then that's onto a Dacron connector, which is where I attach my rig. So like I said, in essence, this is now my top kit. Should I get a bigger fish, we've got plenty of elastic in there. It lets it run, and you've also got the nice soft bend of the quiver tip. So the rig itself, So it's actually, this here is my sight indicator, it's my second bite indicator, and it's actually just the top of a waggler. So you can see I took that off and I've just put it on with a couple of rubbers, and that sits there, like I said, does two jobs for me. It's one, the bite indication, if that dips under the water I know I've got a bite, and two, it lets me keep an eye on what the tide is doing. And actually, when we got here, I was a bit unsure what the tide was doing, but it's now picking up nicely. So I've worked it out a little bit. So hopefully we should start catching a few fish now. It'd be nice if we caught some bigger fish as well. But coming down to the rig, super simple really. I've just got a feeder running in between two float stops. Have your feeder with the weight at the bottom. That just sits nicely on the pole feeder. This is one of the matrix feeders, and you can see they do plenty of different sizes. The one I've got is the extra small in the 20 gram, but they do them right up to, this is a large 60 gram. So if you've got a fast flowing river fishing for bigger fish and stuff like that, you can adjust your feeder to how you want. And then the hook link, I actually started on, I'm lazy, so I got the pre-tied hook links, it's size 16 to 4 pound, and these are 1 metre long, so I just cut them down to about 1 foot because I think that's a bit better. If I was fishing an actual tip rod, I'd have them 1 metre long, but on this I don't. I only have about 1 foot. But recently, in the last couple of chucks, just changed over to a size 14. I wanted to see if I could put a little bit of a bigger bait on, perhaps when I go fishing now. We might have to wait a little bit longer for a bite, but it might be possible to hook a bigger fish. So like I said, I've never fished it before, I don't actually know. And the other thing that you need is, because it's all sitting nicely in a rest, you need a bump bar so it sits in the same place every time. So get yourself that set up before you get fishing. And if I just get off my seat, your pole seat needs to have a space here for your pole to go into. Pretty much they all do now. So you all have a little pole sock in there, so you can see, I'll do it on a knot stand. When I put that in there and fish, you're completely hands-free. So that's going in there, that's sitting in the same place on your bump bar, and you are fishing. So that's the rig and sort of how you set it and fish it. I hope that made sense. If anyone needs a bit more information on that, please do drop me a message. I'll try and answer them personally, and I'll give you a helping hand on that. So like I said, I've upped my hook size slightly now. We've got a bit of flow, so I'm going to put 2 maggots on. I did only stay with this really small feeder at the moment because, like, it is really cold. Poor old Amanda behind the camera, she's saying she's freezing. It is definitely feeling like winter. But so because we're only fishing short, like I said, at the moment, it's just a case of flicking out, picking up your other section, putting it on, and then going right over the top of that feeder. Put it in your bump bar and on your pole, and you can see now I'm completely hands-free, getting bites already. Look, see the sight bob you can see is there, and you've got your quiver tip, so you've got your 2 ways of finding if you've got a bite. You could leave off that little float top, you don't need it there because the quiver tip's good enough, but I just like having them both for an extra bit of visual. So we literally are getting bites every, oh, just missed that one. I'm just wondering if this bigger hook is been a little bit too positive, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to go out there again with the 2 maggots, flick out to the spot. There's clearly loads and loads of fish there, and if I don't manage to catch any bigger fish in the next sort of half an hour's worth of fishing, what I'm thinking is I might put another couple of sections on and go out into the middle of the river and see if they're sitting out there. Look at that, it's just bite after bite. It's just such an effective way of fishing. So these little ones, they sort of, you probably saw in that bite, they cause more of a rattle, where if you lucky enough to find a few skimmers and that, it's just a proper, you know, like you'd expect feeder fishing, your tip goes round almost. What I'm going to do is try a piece of worm. I've not actually tried it yet. I've been putting it through the swim, but all we've had at the moment is maggots on the hook, because to be honest with you, I just like catching fish. And it really surprised me, because I have lost a little bit of touch with natural venue fishing. I don't mind admitting that a lot of my time is spent chasing the big qualifiers and stuff like that. So I spend a lot of times on commercials, but as I said, the last match that I've done on the river got some real love, and it's amazing how many people they're still out there giving the roach fishing and bream fishing a bit of love. And I've got a lot of time for that. Like, these fish might be small at the moment, but you know, as the weather gets colder, the roach are willing to feed, and I just like catching them. So I've got a worm on this time. I'm just gonna give it a little bit longer. I'm getting lots of rattles. I think that's probably, no, I think they were just plucking at it. Oh no, there was one. I wasn't sure if that was rattling or it was gonna be tiny. I don't know how that's got it in its mouth. A little rudd this time. We caught a nice rudd earlier actually, one we had to net, but apart from that, that's been the biggest fish. Maybe they're sitting out in that flow, or maybe it's just not that river today. There's a little bit of colour in it, but you can't ever guarantee with skimmers. Skimmers and bream are like one of those things on the Norfolk Broads and stuff like that, where any of our rivers here, the Yare, the Fern, the Bure, like, they're either feeding or they're not normally, and there's nothing you can do sometimes to catch them. But look at that, you can see how quick. Another rattly one, I think. Yeah, it's just relentless. It's literally a fish a cast. I tried to leave it a little bit there to see if a big one would grab it, but they're on it pretty quick. So what I'll do is I'll keep doing this. I'll keep seeing if we can put some fish in the net, because I do like just getting bites. And the best thing about it, to be honest with you, is it's been able to let me show you perfectly how this works, because if I'm sitting there ages waiting for a bite, you're not really learning how to use it. This is more about how to use this pole feeder. But I'm gonna give it sort of half an hour or so now. If no bigger fish come along, I'm gonna go out into the river and see if that makes any difference. Absolutely flying. Literally a bite every single cast. Like I said, we've missed the odd one, but you're going to get that. But I'm going to go and try a little bit further out in the river, and it'll give me a chance to demonstrate a few things for you. So what I'm just doing here is I'm just changing my feeder over, because I want to put a fair bit of, well, not a fair bit of bait. I want to put a feeder full of bait out there and just let it settle while I talk to you about the baits I've got. It'll be a good time to do that. But before I do that, I mentioned earlier that you need a cable tie on your pole if you're fishing a little bit further out. So this will become apparent why now. So all you want to do is get yourself a cable tie, pop it onto your pole, obviously grip it tight, but not so tight that you're going to break your pole. Be careful with it, and then just cut yourself off. So you leave yourself about an inch tag. That'll become apparent in just a second. But there you go, that's on there now. It's really not going to damage my pole. I'm going to slide down a bit tighter, because the reason you need that is because what you do there is you hook over exactly like I just have there. So I've hooked over my feeder. Now that means when I ship out further, it's not going to be touching the water. If I was to drag that through the water, you can imagine it's going to empty the feeder until we get to the spot we want to. So I'm just going to go 2 sections further. It's not actually wide here where we're fishing. So you ship out, and then when you get to your chosen, or the end of where you're going to fish, you just rotate your pole round and your feeder swings out. As it swings back in, you lower it. I actually hope this is the same depth. I haven't checked. Oh, it is. I got quite lucky there. Probably should have checked that. So I'm going to give that a flick. And then the other thing you want to get sorted, because I'm changing where I'm fishing, you want to sort your bump bar out, because it's probably going to be different. Yeah, it is. Look, you can see that's laying in there. So I just need to raise my bump bar. So look, when I go back out there when I'm fishing, it's all going to be nice and tight. So that's going to be about right like that. Let's tighten out. I may need to adjust that slightly, but that's about good enough. So this is just going to give you a good example of how you get yourself nice and set up. While that's now resting, I'm just going to change this feeder back over, and we'll have a quick look at the baits, because the baits are super simple, but it's worth running through what to sort of bring with if you want to have a go at it. Obviously every river is different, and every river responds to different feed and stuff like that, but We want to try and catch a few skimmers if we can. If I was in a match situation, I really wouldn't be worried because we're absolutely flying. We're getting a bite of chuck. But I need to chop a few more worms. But chopped worm, absolute winner for roach, perch. Interesting, we have caught a few perch since I've upped that. So hopefully you catch a few more of those. But skimmers absolutely love it as well. I've nearly fed a pint of casters so far. I've got another pint in my bag. But yeah, we've got some casters in there. So I'm going to get a fresh bag of that out shortly. I've got a tin of corn, always bring corn with me here. It works so well on any of the rivers around where we are. And there's hook bait for maggots. I've got about 3/4 pint in total, just reds and fluoros. A single fluoro, absolutely wicked if you want to just get a bite. And then you can play around with a bunch of them and stuff like that. And then the ground bait, I need to do a bit of a bait top up really. I mixed up 2 kilos. I've got Silver X River and Silver X Roach. Just mixed them 50-50 together. Once that was all mixed nicely, pushed it through a riddle, and that's absolutely perfect. So this bucket just down here has got about 1.5 kilos left in it, so I need to top that up in a moment. But why not go out and see if there's anything over that bait we just put in there. It's had a few seconds to settle. What are we going to go? Let's go 2 fluoros. And we'll see what happens. I'm not convinced, if I'm honest, that there's going to just miraculously be some bigger fish in the middle there. I just think that there's so many roach around that that is what's going to be. So, right, feed it over your cable tie. Take your time. And then slowly, so you can see this takes a little bit longer if you're fishing it this way. That's why I like to fish it really short and then just add a section on to get above your feeder. But spin it off your feeder, it's going to swing out. As it swings in, lower it, and then you get right above it, and then you can go into your bump bar. Hopefully that's all set nicely. Yeah, we can work with that. And then let's see. So I mean, we've instantly getting a bite there. I probably should have. Yeah, there's one on there, isn't there? Yeah, straight away. Mental, absolutely mental. There's just so many fish in this river. Another roach, tiny little roach. We've gone out there for a bigger fish, and that certainly wasn't the case. But there's a chance if we kept plugging away out there, there's a chance that we could connect with something a bit better. Those perch were good. It's just nice having something that really pulls back. But like I said, if I was in a match, I wouldn't be worrying about that. I'd be worried about putting weight in my keep net and catching a roach every single cast within a couple of seconds, which is what we've been doing so far. You'd take that. Right, here we go again. Off the cable tie, swing back, drop. It's just so accurate. That's why it's so effective. I absolutely love this way of fishing. I really like to take this, and I might do it actually in the summer, or I'd like to take this to a river that's got some real sort of 2-3 pound chub, known for some big skimmers and bream, because it would be absolutely awesome to see like a 3 or 4 pound fish grab hold of it. That would be wicked bite. I mean, we're getting little rattles here and there. You can see it all the time, they're rattling. I want to try and wait, see if they can. Yeah, there we go. I'm waiting a little bit just to see if anything develops, because there's actually so many fish in here, it sounds odd, that you're almost getting liners sometimes. It's the fish bumping into it. Go another roach. Let's put a worm on and see if we can entice anything out there. What am I going to go for? I'm going to go for just a nice section of worm, not a whole worm. Might try it later. Might try and put a whole worm on and sit there and wait and see if being patient works. But one more go. See what we catch on this cast. All right, we've got I wonder if we're sort of a couple of weeks late for the bream, because, oh, what have we done there? Oh, I just got myself in a tangle. Right, I'm going to leave it in though, because that is what happens. I wasn't concentrating then. I was talking to you about being too late for the bream, but I've just tangled my sight bob around my tip here. So let me sort that out. That wasn't very professional, was it? But it happens to everyone. Like, That is one thing that I do say with my video. I try and keep them as natural as they are, because if you think that people come out and film and don't do something like that and get in a little tangle, then you are wrong. It happens to all of us. It doesn't matter what level someone's at, that happens. So I don't mind leaving stuff like that in the edit. Right, let's try that again. Try not to tangle it this time. Try and keep yourself all nicely sorted. Right. Yeah, what I was saying is I think the reason we came here is because I spoke to a chap called Colin Blake on Facebook, because he had a real nice catch of bream. And that was a couple of weeks ago. Not actually exactly here, but this is the closest I could get to it. And I'm just wondering, am I slightly too late for the bream? Maybe they've moved on somewhere else, but I'm not complaining about getting a bite every single cast. Worm this time, look at that, they're absolutely devouring it. Because it is a sectional worm though, I'm going to try and wait for a proper bite. It's a bit windy, I'm just holding onto my pole actually, even though it's in a support bar. When the wind blows it can blow it offline, so. Right, maybe we can put that half a section of worm on, be a bit more positive, see if something bigger comes along and grabs it. The river is just alive with roach today. I fished on to see if I could get you a bigger fish, but just seems to be that absolutely millions and millions of roach, rudd and perch. Absolutely not complaining. It has been wicked. We've literally had a bite every single cast, and to say that, I'm going to go away pretty happy. So I hope that that has, if you've either used the pole feeder before, giving you an insight to this version, or if you've never used it before, giving you the thoughtful process that maybe you want to go out and give it a go. If you're interested in any of the tackle I use, I'll make it really easy for you. I'll put a link in the description. We'll show you everything that you need to do it, but trust me, it's absolutely deadly. It catches pretty much anywhere where you've got a bit of flow in the river and the fish are willing to feed. So get yourself out in the pole feeder. I hope you've enjoyed it. I absolutely love using this. I'm going to go out again and perhaps try and target some bigger fish. Like I said, I promise you we'll bring you that video. Maybe it will be next year now. But don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and we'll see you very soon for another Match Masterclass.